What is going on, guys? This is Beanie and welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be doing the all-time Mets and I don't really see any need in delaying, so let's just jump into it. Okay, starting out with starting pitching, this is definitely the Mets' strong suit. The ace of the team, the so-called ace, I guess as far as overall is concerned, it's the 99 Seaver. Fantastic per nines, fantastic pitch selection, good stuff. I do kind of wish that the Seaver threw harder, but he's always had a great changeup, and they've added a sinker to him, so that makes him just even more effective. I really like that 99 Seaver. I cannot wait until he comes out and is released to everyone. Or everybody that makes the World Series anyway. Their number 2 is definitely the 97 Matt Harvey, who is just another absolute stud. Really good per nines, great stuff, great selection, all that stuff. Everything that you could want out of a pitcher. He's kind of, I don't know, I kind of regard guys who have 5 pitches, 4-seam slider, curveball, changeup, 2-seam. To me, those are kind of vanilla pitchers because they don't have anything that's like kind of out of the ordinary. But out of all of the vanilla, quote-unquote, pitchers in this game, this Matt Harvey has an argument to be like one of the best ones. I really like that card, and he's an unbelievable number 2, honestly. Their number 3, as far as overall is concerned, is a 95 Brett Saberhagen. This is probably the weak point of the rotation, just because his per nines aren't great, his stuff isn't great. He doesn't have a slider. The calling card of this card is that he has amazing control. So if you can really hit your spots with this Brett Saberhagen, he can be effective, but he is probably the worst pitcher in this rotation. He would probably, in practice, be your number 5, but that's okay because he is a really good number 5 relative to a lot of the other pitching staffs that I've done in this series. But then your number 4 has an argument to be the best pitcher overall in this entire rotation, and that's the 92 Noah Syndergaard. Everybody know, I mean, you probably face this guy 1,000 times in Diamond Dynasty right now, and he's still just as dominant as ever. Great sinker. Fastball that can run it up to 100, slider that acts kind of like a cutter, but it's still really difficult to hit. I love throwing that slider in on lefties' hands. To me, it seems like they pop up to the left fielder just so much whenever you throw that pitch, if you can spot it correctly. Just an overall, just a fantastic pitcher. And then their number 5 is Jacob deGrom, and what a great number 5 this is. This is another one of those guys who is kind of like one of those vanilla pitchers that I was talking about, but he's fantastic, man. Great stuff, great selection, decent per nines, just everything that you could want out of a number 5 guy in your rotation. This rotation is absolutely beastly, and it's one of those. If I were doing a series where you just had to pick one team and stick with them, like an all-time versus all-time series, the Mets would be extremely tempting just because they probably have the best pitching staff out of anybody that I've covered so far, and because of that, I ended up giving them a score of a 9.3 out of 10. Okay, moving on to their bullpen. Their bullpen is also very good. Not quite as good as the rotation, but it's still very effective. Start out, you get the 88 overall Billy Wagner, and I love these teams where their best reliever is a lefty, because oftentimes when you're making these lists, lefties are really tough to come by. You'll be lucky if you get like a really good silver or really good bronze, but if you can find like a good gold or good diamond left-handed reliever, then you're probably going to be set. And this 88 overall Billy Wagner is a great example of what you want out of a lefty reliever. A lot of people say they like his 76 overall version better, or that they like the diamond version better. I personally think that this one is maybe just as good as they are, because he can throw a changeup, and a changeup is always a very effective tool whenever you're facing opposite-handed hitters, and there are a lot of righty hitters in this game, so he's going to have to pitch to both sides, and I think I would rather go into that with a changeup than just a 4-seam and a slider. Even though he throws that 4-seam and slider a little bit more effectively on the other cards, I like that third pitch. So a very effective reliever right there. Your setup guys are going to be the Jerry's Familia, who's an excellent card. One of the few pitchers in this game that I don't mind him only having basically 2 pitches, like a fastball, sinker, a fastball slash sinker and a slider because he just throws them so effectively. And he also has a really deceptive delivery. So a really solid card there. Another lefty in the bullpen is the 84 overall Jerry Blevins, a card that is, in my opinion, pretty underrated. He doesn't throw that hard, but he has really good pitch selection. And he has really good speed change. Like, he throws a sinker. I'm just trying to recall this off the top of my head. He throws a sinker kind of in the low 90s, and then he has that cutter that is really slow. Like, it's like 82 or something like that. It has a great speed change. Then he throws a really slow curveball and then a really slow changeup. So, that sinker is fast enough whenever you take into account the fact that his other pitches just throw you so far off balance. I really like this card. I think it's a very effective number 3, number 4 type guy. But really, in practice, probably your number 3 would be this 82 overall Francisco Rodriguez. Great per nines, great pitch selection. His stuff isn't the best. This was, a little later on in his career or whatever. But still not really. It was like in the middle part of his career. He's never been like a flamethrower or anything like that. He's always thrown pretty hard, but not like super hard. But very, very effective reliever right there. And then one of the best bronze relievers in the game, in my opinion, the 79 AJ Ramos is going to be kind of like a middle reliever for you. He's one of the few relievers that have 5 pitches, and he throws all of them pretty effectively. Also has a really deceptive delivery and really good per nines. And then once you get down to your 6 and 7 spots, your long reliever type stuff, this Josh Edging card gives you another nice little lefty to throw in your bullpen. So you kind of have lefties covered. It's always nice to be able to have like 4 righties and 3 lefties because you're never going to – I don't know how to say this. You always have like a platoon advantage if you want it. So that's always nice to have. And then this Hanson Robles is another really effective bronze reliever with really good per nines, decent stuff for a bronze, and just kind of a basic pitch selection. So yeah, overall it's a really great bullpen. I wouldn't say it's like among the elite that I've covered, but it's definitely reliable, it's definitely stable, and it has some dominant arms that can come in and get the job done for you. So with that said, I gave them a score of a 7.1. Okay, now to the lineup. This is going to be the make or break section for the Mets because their pitching is obviously fantastic. It has them on track to be a 20-plus overall team as far as on the, the 1 to 30 scale that I use. And those are where the best teams reside. But they have to have a good offense, but it doesn't start out great. Their catcher, they're kind of weak at catcher. That you're going to have to go with the 79 overall Travis d'Arnaud. This is an obvious hole in the lineup, and it sucks. But with a team like this, I mean, you can't have everything. They have the great pitching. They're going to have a few holes in their offense, and it starts with the 79 overall Travis d'Arnaud, but then it doesn't get a ton better at first base. Typically, first base is pretty easy to fill, and the Mets have a lot of first basemen who are capable of doing it, but none of them are really all that great. So I ended up going with the 80 overall Lucas Duda to give me a left-handed power bat. Very, very powerful. If you can ever catch a ball right with him, you can hit it a long way. The only problem is his contact isn't the best, and he doesn't have a lot of vision, so your PCI may be on the smaller side, and he's definitely a guy that you're going to have to platoon with. And then moving on to second base, it's another hole. Really, you have to go with the 83 overall Roberto Alomar. I mean, he's a okay contact guy with okay defense, and against righties he's going to be okay, but against lefties he's terrible. Just not a very appealing card overall. But after second base, it really starts to get a lot better. The first 3 that I put down, I was starting to get really worried about the Mets, but it gets a lot better after that because at third base, boom, get the 99 overall David Wright, one of the best third basemen in the game. I love his swing, can crush lefties, hits righties very effectively too, plays good defense, has some speed, just an absolute stud in this game. I love the 99 David Wright card. The 96 Jose Reyes at shortstop, another card that I really like, a switch hitter. That was kind of a theme whenever I was putting together this lineup. They tend to have a lot of switch hitters, which I like. So yeah, the 96 96, Jose Reyes rounds out the infield at shortstop, and then their outfield is very solid. In left field, I'm going to go with the 88 overall Michael Conforto card. I thought about going with the 88 Cliff Floyd, but I decided to go with Conforto just because they kind of have similar offensive profiles, and the Conforto plays a bit better defense, so I do like that. In center field, you have to go with the 93 overall Carlos Beltran. Just another switch hitter that we see, and he has so much power versus both sides. He definitely is going to make more contact versus righties than he is against lefties, but that's okay. This guy is just an absolute stud at the plate. He also plays really good defense and has some speed, so a really valuable card overall. I know a lot of people really like that Beltran and think that he plays above his numbers. I just bought him, as you can see, and I've been trying him out, so I definitely will probably have a more in-depth opinion on him in the future. And then in right field was kind of tough because I definitely thought about going with an outfield of like Conforto, Floyd, and Beltran, but I decided to put Floyd on the bench and go with the 89 overall Yoenis Cespedes, even though the Cespedes doesn't hit righties all that well. And the reason I did that is because I started looking at the construction of the lineup, and it tended to have a lot of guys who hit righties really well, but not lefties. The only exceptions to that being the David Wright and the Jose Reyes. So I thought if I could get one more guy in there who hit lefties better, that I could kind of balance out the lineup a little bit. Plus, if I stick this guy in right field, he has one of the strongest arms in the game, so he's going to be able to make a lot of defensive assists. Overall, I think that was kind of a smart play. So that is the lineup. Now let's move on to the bench. The bench is actually really interesting. You start out very, very good with a 91 overall Ahmed Rosario, just a beast to have on the bench. He can play shortstop, he can play third base, so a very effective guy to have. Ironically, those are probably our two strongest positions on this team, but that's okay. This is a nice guy to have as a, a pinch runner, as a pinch hitter, a defensive replacement, something like that. It's a great, great card to have on the bench. And then I said I put the 88 overall Cliff Floyd on the bench because he is just a monster offensively, can hit righties fantastic, but, he doesn't have a lot else. I mean, he hits lefties okay as far as power goes, but he's not great on that front, and he doesn't play good defense, and he doesn't have great speed or anything. And then it got kind of tough because I thought about going with guys like the 80 overall Daniel Murphy, who can play a lot of different positions, the 85 Angel Pagan, another switch hitter, even though he only hits righties kind of well, and he has some speed and stuff like that. But because my lineup tended to favor righties so much, and I had some guys who were so platoon heavy, I decided to go a different direction. I left those guys off the bench, and I decided to go with the 78 overall Asdrubal Cabrera and the 73 overall Wilmer Flores. Now with Flores, the reason I went with him is because he can play anywhere on the defense, and I know that Ike Davis would need a platoon if he were going to have an effective spot on this team. And since this guy can play first base, I decided to slap him on the bench so I could get a guy who really hits lefties well, so I could platoon him with Ike Davis. And then when the Asdrubal Cabrera, I was kind of the same thought pattern, except he can hit both sides of the plate pretty good, and the Roberto Alomar definitely is a guy who would need a platoon at second base just because he isn't that effective against lefties. Actually, you know what? Now that I'm sitting here thinking about it, I don't know why in the hell I stuck Roberto Alomar at second base and I didn't put the Asdrubal Cabrera at second base in the starting lineup. You know what? I'm going to switch that. I'm going to put Roberto Alomar on the bench, and I'm going to put Asdrubal Cabrera in the starting role. So on the bench, we have the 83 overall Roberto Alomar, and then at second base, we have the Asdrubal Cabrera, who I think would be a much more effective guy in that role. So yeah, I don't know why I did that. That was just an oversight on my part. I apologize for that. But to finish out the bench, we have to get a catcher to back up. I mean, it's just a thing that we have to do. It's actually funny because I kept missing Kevin Plawecki. I was scrolling through here. I was like, dude, do they seriously not have a second catcher? But I finally found Kevin Plawecki. And he's going to serve that role. He's not good really at anything, But, you know, he serves the role of backup catcher, and every team needs one. I'm going to do it for every team. So he's a pretty good guy to have. So yeah, guys, that is the lineup and the bench. I do think that it's a really close to average lineup and bench. But I was trying to compare it to other teams that I have done, and a really good team that I found that, as far as a value standpoint goes, one team that I thought was really comparable was like the Padres. As far as their starting lineup, I thought I saw a lot of similar value out of the Padres lineup, and I ended up giving the Padres a score of a 4.5. But because I do like the Mets bench just a little bit more than I like the Padres, I decided to give the Mets the edge in that comparison, and I ended up giving them a score of a 4.9, just below average. And I feel like, you know, with a few tweaks here or there, maybe it could get to that average status, I guess. But anyways, guys, that is the team, and I put all the scores together, and it ended up coming out with a score of a 21.3, which is a very strong score. It definitely puts them in a good position. It puts them in a good position to maybe take the NL East. They will have to get over the Nationals, but we'll see how they do with that. But guys, that is going to end the video for today. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed, please like, sub, and maybe share this with a friend. And yeah, I will see you guys later on. Peace.